Here we have him, William Hogarth, printer and painter, proudly presenting himself in this iconic self-portrait. And it's quite a complex picture, because if you look closely you'll see that Hogarth's bust portrait is actually painted on an oval canvas within the canvas. So you can see here the rim of the picture and the nails in the stretcher, and it's propped up on 3 books, and they are the works of Shakespeare, Milton and Swift. And Hogarth is making a very clever link here to the great types of literature that were adored in his time, but also says painting is just as good as literature. It's not just inspired by literature. He also has added his painter's palette here, and if you look closely you can see a curved line here, and he has helpfully inscribed this, the line of beauty. Hogarth wasn't only an incredibly prolific painter and printmaker, he also had very clear ideas about the theories of art and aesthetics, and he believed that in order to give variety and quality to pictures, you had to adhere to something he called the line of beauty in your composition. And all of this very, very theoretical work on the left-hand side below the self-portrait, he has included his pug dog Trump, who seems to have just wandered into the composition and sat himself down. And this has been interpreted as him, Hogarth, making a link between culture and nature, the natural force represented by the dog, but also it's a link to his own character, his pugnacious character. And if we look at him, he certainly gives us an individual depiction of himself. He hasn't dressed in a formal cloak, he hasn't put a formal wig on his head as a gentleman of the era would have done if he'd left the house. Instead he's wearing a red morning coat, and then he is wearing something that between a fur-trimmed cap and fur-trimmed turban on his head, so quite informal, quite bohemian. We can see the scar on his forehead, and he looks us straight in the eye. He's presenting himself successful painter of his age.